How's it going, everyone? It's Harvey from Weather Sponge 5000, and in this video we're going to focus on this next potential major blizzard that could impact a large portion of the East Coast as we approach a Christmas time frame, where a large portion of the Northeast could experience over a foot of snow and potentially up to 2 feet of snow, and we could see some areas in the Southeast as well experience some snowfall associated from this same snowstorm. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather content. So let's begin by taking a look at the GFS computer model, and you see that the GFS model wants to bring a significant snowstorm to the Northeast, where we see a large area of snow. We see the snow area extend as far east as eastern Canada and as far west as Ohio, where we just see the snow completely swallow up the Northeast. And this snow is also heavy at times. The snow pressure system has a millibar pressure that's right around 983 millibars, which is quite low and quite powerful, and it's of course powerful enough to bring a heavy amount of snow throughout the Northeast. And even if we were to move a little bit earlier during the forecast, we do see a heavy amount of snow also impact the Southeast, where we see Arkansas, Tennessee, the northern portions of Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia get involved with heavy snowfall before eventually becoming a powerhouse of the system by the time this approaches New England, where we see the pressure drop down to the 960s, which is equivalent to a category 3 hurricane when it comes to millibar strength. And this storm would of course have very strong winds thanks to how low the pressure would be, and we just see an extremely heavy amount of snow over a large area, as this is pretty much a definition of potentially a historic snowstorm for the Northeast, because it's not very often we see a snowstorm impact the Northeast with bringing heavy snowfall over this large of an area, and potentially up to 2 feet of snow over that large of an area, which shows that this snowstorm could potentially be significant. And the European model also agrees with the GFS model forecast, where the European model also wants to bring a very significant blizzard right along the Northeast coast, where we see just very heavy snow throughout the Northeast right around the Christmas time frame, and that could impact a large area of the East Coast as well, where the Southeast could get involved. Now, of course, I'm going very far out with the forecast. The forecast hour I'm going at is right around the 186 hour mark, which is approximately 7 to 8 days from now, so there's still definitely time to iron out the forecast. But based on the fact that the European model and the GFS model are taking a nearly identical trajectory as well as strength of the low pressure system, as well as a very identical scope when it comes to the area it wants to bring heavy snowfall, that really goes to show that there might be a little bit more certainty with the forecast than, let's say, any other forecast would have when we're forecasting something that's 8 days out, because we have two of the main computer models pretty much taking almost an exact same trajectory and strength with this storm, and bringing snowfall over nearly the exact same areas. But again, this is still 7 to 8 days out, so there's still a lot of time to iron out the forecast. But well, the reason why the two of the main computer models want to develop a major snowstorm along the East Coast by the Christmas time frame is because as this first snowstorm moves to the east, which is currently bringing heavy snow to the interior Northeast at this time, some areas could experience over a foot of snow from this snowstorm. Because as this storm will move northeastward, the thing that this storm will bring on the backside is very cold temperatures and a strong northwesterly flow to bring that Arctic air further southward, and that would set the stage for the United States to encounter a higher level of instability for a significant snowstorm to form. By the way, let me show you guys the fall forecast to really give you guys a good idea of how powerful the European and the GFS model want to bring this storm to the Northeast, where we do see a large area experiencing 6 to 12 inches, 12 to 18 inches in some areas. And we see with the GFS model is forecasting an even worse case scenario, where we see heavy snowfall throughout the Southeast. Let me go to the 18Z run again, the latest model run. We see that the GFS model wants to bring a large area of 12 to 24 inches, which is something that I really haven't seen in a long time when it comes to a snowstorm impacting the Northeast. I've just never seen a snowstorm with this level of scope when it comes to the amount of heavy snowfall it wants to bring over a large area. Of course, there have been very powerful snowstorms that impacted the East Coast in the past, but in terms of bringing over 6 to 12 inches of snow over, I'd say around 15 states along the East Coast, as well as bringing snow to the Southeast, this doesn't happen very often, as this snowstorm could be historic, not only for Christmas Day standards, but in general, because we just see a large area of heavy snow right around Northeast. But again, what will determine if the snowstorm will develop or not is really, of course, how much instability there will be by the time we approach the Christmas time frame, because as the low pressure system continues to move northeastward, like I said, there's going to be a strong northwesterly flow associated with this low pressure system that will bring that Arctic air further southward and cool down temperatures all throughout the United States, which will allow the possibility of a more enhanced area of instability to develop in the United States. And if I were to continue to move forward, we see that this northwesterly flow that this low pressure system is bringing about into the United States will eventually steer this Clipper system to the south. And as this Clipper system moves a little bit further southward, again, it'll bring a little bit more cold air to the United States, which will again set up the possibility of an enhanced amount of instability developing in the United States as we approach a Christmas time frame. And as a result of this Clipper system eventually moving southeastward, we see a little bit, just enough instability for this Clipper system to strengthen quite a bit by the time this approaches the Midwest, where we do see some snow right around the Midwest, and we also see some thunder showers developing around the Southeast as well, as again there's a subtropical trough that's going to be located just to the south of Texas, where area of low pressure does exist. And once this small low pressure system and this Clipper system interact with each other, we're going to see an enhanced amount of thunderstorm activity. And once this thunderstorm activity approaches Florida, we're going to see a piece of this vorticity associated with this low pressure system move northward and sort of get trapped by a ridge that's expected to build by the time we approach the 21st of Wednesday. And this energy will linger over the same area right around the Carolinas for several days, because the steering currents will be relatively weak, because we have the subtropical jet wanting to steer this this energy to the south, while we have, of course, this polar jet that's trying to steer it to the north. So it's gonna deal with some weak steering flow, which will mean that this area of rain will linger, and that will create an area where the temperature will be a little bit warmer right around the Carolinas, because the core of this low pressure system will be more subtropical like rather than Arctic like, and at the same time we're going to see a Clipper system move into the Midwest as a result of a strong northwesterly flow we're seeing from the next few Clipper systems that are going to move just north of the United States border. And eventually these two systems will interact, and of course we have a subtropical low pressure system merging with a polar trough, which of course will create a very highly unstable environment right around the East Coast for this major blizzard to develop, as we see this rapidly intensify thanks to how much instability there is. So of course we're going to need to pay close attention to this first Clipper system that moves through, and this low pressure system more specifically, because we're going to need to see if this area of vorticity will move north enough to really have the possibility to interact with this polar trough that's expected to move into the United States. Of course, we're going to need to pay close attention to the northwesterly winds as well to see where this Clipper system will get steered towards, because if this Clipper system moves just a little bit too far north, then the possibility of a major blizzard for the Northeast and even the Southeast would definitely diminish if there isn't enough, if this snowstorm doesn't move far south enough to create that very unstable environment, or even if it moves just a little bit more northward than it's forecasted right now, then of course there will be a smaller possibility we'd see as significant of a snowstorm. There's still that possibility we could see a snowstorm even if this Clipper system does move a little bit northward, but the chance that it'll be a historic blizzard definitely diminishes if this were to move any further northward. So we're going to need to wait wait and see how strong northwesterly winds will be, if this low-pressure system will stick around right around Carolinas to determine if there's going to be enough instability right around the East Coast for this significant blizzard to develop. And of course, we're going to need to see also the position of this low pressure system, because if this low pressure system moves a little bit eastward, then we could see a little bit more rain in the areas right up along the coast, and maybe this could be more of an interior northeast threat. And of course, we're going to need to see this jet stream dip as well. That will determine who exactly gets the heaviest snowfall. But as of right now, both the GFS model and the European model want to bring a significant blizzard right around the Christmas time frame between the 23rd and the 25th. And the fact that they're both in really good agreement with each other regarding the strength and the track of this low pressure system really does raise a certainty that we could potentially see a significant snowstorm right around the Christmas time frame than if it were just let's say the GFS model forecasting there will be a major blizzard while the European model isn't. But since both of them are forecasting a very similar scenario, I think that certainly does raise certainty that we could see a blizzard along the East Coast by the time we approach Christmas. So there's definitely at least something to be aware of, because this could certainly impact travel, as I know a lot of people around the Christmas time frame tend to travel throughout the United States. But this could of course bring major impacts to your travel plans, so you need to be aware of this over the next several days, because it certainly could happen, especially with both of the computer models in pretty good agreement with each other. And of course, we could see a large area of 6 to 12 and 12 to 18 inches of snow. Let me show you guys the snowfall forecast again. Just a very large area of snow, just something that I typically don't see every day forecasting the weather. So we do see just a large area of 6 to 12 inches of snow. And of course, all the big cities in the Northeast are involved with over 6 inches of snow. And we could see over 12 inches of snow in New York City, Philadelphia, and Washington, D.C. as well. And this snow could extend further southward into the Carolinas and the northern portions of the Gulf Coast states. So definitely keep that in mind. Now, taking a look at the North Atlantic oscillation, we do see that we're deep in the negative phase at this point, so we're more likely to experience colder and snowier than average conditions, because typically during a negative North Atlantic oscillation we see a weaker low and a weaker ridge over the Atlantic, which weakens the jet stream winds. So the polar air is less likely to be trapped right around the polar regions and more likely to move further southward into the United States, as this map shows, where during a negative Arctic oscillation the westerly winds are a lot weaker, so it's a lot easier for the cold air to move into the United States and meander further southward, since the strong winds aren't going to trap the cooler air closer to the polar region. So as a result, we're more likely to see more impactful and colder and snowier than average conditions as we approach the Christmas time frame, which makes sense why both of the computer models want to bring a major blizzard along the East Coast. Now, taking a look at my snowfall accumulation forecast based on this potential Christmas blizzard. Of course, this forecast is subject to change. This forecast goes beyond the 7-day mark, right around the 7-day mark. So there's still a lot of time to iron out the forecast. But with both of the main computer models in pretty good agreement, I think it's a little bit safer to assume that we could be in for a significant blizzard. Again, still a lot that could change. There's still that possibility that a lot of these areas might not experience snow at all, but it's certainly a possibility as we approach the Christmas time frame, where and you see that this could, of course, if this were to come for fruition, this would be very significant. Over 24 inches of snow would be possible right around the northern northeast, 12 to 24 inches impacting pretty much every area of the Interstate 95 corridor. Hartford, New York City, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C. could all get involved with 12 to 24 inches of snow if the GFS model scenario were correct, or even the European model scenario. And even if we were to look further south and westward, we still do see Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, Virginia could be under the possibility of 6 to 12 inches of snow, and we see snow impact the northern Gulf Coast states as well. So this is definitely something you're gonna need to be at least aware of. It's too early to say for certain if this will actually come for fruition, but I'll keep you guys updated over the next several days. But anyways, guys, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather content. I hope you guys have a great day.